What would Daredevil bend, aside from backs and arms and microwaves? Hey, I'm Zay, your friendly neighborhood superfan, and today we're going to be doing another installment of the Crossover Chronicles. We're going to be mixing Avatar: The Last Airbender and Marvel. Now, if you've been here before, you know how this is going to be organized. If not, you should go watch the other ones. There's like Fantastic Four, Mandalorian, go watch them. But enough dilly-dallying, let's get into it. First off, the origin. So as you know, Daredevil is blind and becomes this way through an accident with some chemicals spilling on him, and that's the first domino in the chain that leads to him becoming Daredevil. Now, I was trying to think of like cool spiritual equivalents that we could do, like maybe when Kuvira was attacking, the spirit energy hit him in the face and now he's Daredevil, right? But I think that I'm going to keep it simple actually. A big storyline within Republic City is how it interacts with the natural environment, especially in the Avatar comics, back when it was Cranefish Town. The pollution that it puts out has a huge effect on the natural area, and obviously like the spirits surrounding it and everything. So instead of making some complicated spiritual or even bending reason for this, I'm just gonna say that it was chemicals. This is a city, this isn't a village. It's a heart of industry in the area. I think it makes sense that they would have some dangerous chemicals around. So we're gonna leave the vague idea the same, but we'll say that, you know, maybe it fell off the cart of Sato no, not Sato, Cabbage Core. It's gonna come off of the back of a truck for Cabbage Core. Now, the location. Hell's Kitchen. Now, I think this is a pretty easy one. I don't think you'd have too many people disagreeing with you that Republic City is basically New York in Avatar. And if you look at the art book that was released along with book 1 of Korra, we find out that Republic City has a couple different boroughs. I want to say it's either 5 or 8. So we'll say that Hell's Kitchen is in one of the boroughs in Republic City. All right, and the next up is something that started out as a small deal to me, but ended up being really cool in the end. Daredevil being the son of Batlin Jack Murdock. Now, of course, Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is the son of Jack Murdock, famous boxer and fighter. So of course, in Republic City at the time of Korra, who were the famous fighters? Pro-benders. So I think that Matt's dad was actually on a pro-bending team. And now a special part of that's going to come in later, but for now, what you need to know is that I think the team is probably going to be something like the Ruby Dragons or something like that. And of course, the next thing is that while Matt is Daredevil by night, by day, he is an attorney. Now in Korra, we do see that there's a court system. We actually see Sokka at the very least testifying, if not fully being a lawyer. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that Matt could also be an attorney in this world. And the last concept that I want to bring up is Daredevil's spirituality. He is an overtly faith-based character. And of course I want to honor that, and I think that the way that that would look in the Avatar world is that he works with or admires a certain spirit. Now of course we have to create that spirit. So there's 2 bits of inspiration that I have for the spirit in general. I guess 3. The first of which is going to be St. Jude, who was brought up in the last Daredevil episode, talking about him being like the saint of hopeless cases or something like that. I think that's beautiful for Matt's story. And then also one that came out of Marvel Rivals. Now going from saints to Marvel Rivals seems like 2 ends of the spectrum, right? Hear me out. That variant of Matt Murdock goes by a different name. They go by the name Dazang, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And while looking up where that comes from, it turns out that it's from a figure in Buddhism whose whole thing is that he essentially saves people from the horrors of hell. He goes down and drags them up. That's fucking sick. And it feels a lot like Daredevil, very, very dramatic. Now combine those ideas with a spirit kind of like the baboon from book 1 of Avatar, or maybe General Old Iron, where they're not just animalistic, they're also like sentient and have like clothes and stuff like that. And I think we start to get an idea of who this could be. Now I imagine that this spirit, we can call it Izong to go with Dizong, but not quite be there. And we can have it be a spirit that represents this redemption and pulling people back from their suffering. And have it be that this is an ideal that Daredevil in this world really strives to uphold. Now this sounds like it'd be a really awesome thing to draw. It sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. If you want to see me do that like I'm drawing Daredevil in today's video, let me know down in the comments below and tell me what kind of things you think would be cool. I'm thinking the Daredevil face, like with the horns and stuff, would be sick to have the spirit wearing like the head of an executed demon or something like that. It could go a lot of cool ways. Okay, with that being said though, that leads us to our next section, character. Now this is where we transition from giving context to the character within the world to now figuring out what they would bend. So Matt Murdock, Daredevil, he has principles. His entire thing as a hero is that he's doing this based off of his sense of right and wrong, but also his faith. I think we see this really clearly in this most recent season with his relationship with Bullseye, and how he's choosing to stand by these ideals even when it hurts him to do so. Even if he hasn't forgiven this villain for killing his best friend, he's still standing by this idea of mercy and this idea of justice. And I think that that's like the defining personality trait of this incarnation of Daredevil. So keep that in mind as we move on to the next section, credo. Now, somebody's credo in this sense has to do with their personal philosophy. How do they approach problems? Now, I think a perfect example of what I believe Matt's personal credo to be is how he explains the work of being a vigilante, of being a superhero, to Karen in this most recent season of the show, where she's at her wit's end and she's asking him, how do you keep going? How do you keep pushing? And he basically just says, because I have to. It's the only option we have. He doesn't mind beating his head against the wall because it's what's right. And I think it's that hard-headedness, that stubbornness, and that passion that will inform his eventual bending style. And I'm curious if you see where I'm going with this so far. And that'll lead us to the last section, and I know the most important one, the combat. How does he fight? What does he fight with? It's the most exciting one. Bing, bang, pow. So first off, I want to talk about his powers of echolocation. Now, how would this translate into Avatar? Toph. We have a blind bender who sees things with lines all over them through the earth. So, I mean, it's a perfect one-to-one, right? And it's not just that he's blind that makes me equate it to Toph. It's also the fact that when he fights, waits and listens and responds. And that when he reaches these obstacles, when somebody like Fisk, an unstoppable force, comes at him, he becomes an immovable object. And speaking of objects, in what may be the worst transition I've ever done, I want to talk about his weapons. First off, I never put together his batons that he uses. Okay, it's a stick that comes apart with a string. Have you ever noticed that it's supposed to be like his walking stick? Literally just noticed the other day, and the show has been out for how many years? I mean, the character's been around for how many years? But with that said, the batons themselves, they are these metal tubes with cables that he can use to traverse and also fight with. It immediately brings up imagery of the Republic City metal benders, using the cables to get around the city, using them in a fight. And I mean, the batons, of course, it's metal. Look at Su Yin Beifong when she's fighting Kuvira and she makes that staff out of metal. It's perfect. It's perfect. So with that said, of course, you already know where I'm going with this. I believe that Daredevil would be an Earthbender, specifically a metal bender. I think you could even take it one step further and say that he picked up Toph's style a little bit, the praying mantis style, because it lends itself so well to being blind. And he even goes so far as to use her seismic sense. Now tell me that's not perfect. And now to wrap it all together, here's the part that I wanted to talk about with his dad being a pro bender and even the spirit that we created together. I think that Matt's costume, where he goes from just Matt to Daredevil, I think he dons his dad's old pro bending uniform and wears a mask inspired by the spirit that he admires so much and truly becomes a Daredevil. But with that all created, I jumped into Photoshop, and much like we did with the Fantastic Four before him, I drew out Daredevil in Avatar, and this is what we got. I think it's one of my favorite ones yet. The pro bending uniform I feel like lends itself perfectly to his suit. He's got the Daredevil mask with the horns and everything, but I made it look almost like the Blue Spirit mask. And then of course we've got his batons, Republic City in the background, or should I say Hell's Kitchen in the background. And oh my god, I love him, and I hope you do too. What would you have done different, or do you think that you would add anything on? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm super curious to hear what you think. Do you think he would even bend Earth, or do you think he'd be something else? That'd be an interesting conversation. But I hope you liked the picture. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. If you did like the video, make sure to hit like below. It really helps out the channel. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe. That way you can join the Superfan Society. We're a super cool group of people that talk about all the stuff we're super into, and it would be super awesome if you were to join. But thank you all so much. I will see you all soon with that other video, but until then, stay super.